Koto. Firstly, I want to acknowledge the time and effort of the Select Committee and recognise you've been listening to many of these, which makes for a long day and probably a longer week. And I just wanted to acknowledge the experience among you as well, from the community and farming experience many of you have to the engineering, research backgrounds, business owners and local government experience. And I'm also really pleased to note that many of you have referred to your care and passion for the environment in many of your speeches. So that's, a great start. Today, I'm representing 22 community environment hubs around the country as their executive officer. These hubs are small and large, and they're charities and social enterprises, and some of them are large and highly professional organisations. They support resilient futures for their communities. Like many people, that's not my only porto or my hat. I have numerous other roles. So I'm jointly responsible for nearly $220 million in investments, and I help to distribute up to $20 million annually to community organisations. I live rurally, just north of Mike Butterick in northern Wairarapa. I'm a farm owner. I've got a farming background of several generations like many other New Zealanders. I sit on my daughter's school board as a presiding member, Lotteries Environment and Heritage Committee, and my nearest town's community board. And I chair the Eastern and Central Community Trust, which stretches from East Cape to Featherston and incorporates Horowhenua and Manawatu. I'm sharing these roles because mine is a similar story to many of the people I work with in over the 147 organisations that we're networked with. So I represent people with expertise in various life skills in every field and sector. You can't get more connected to these communities than the amazing people that I have the privilege to work with. They're also engineers and farmers and city planners, representatives and their leaders. So when thinking about our submission to you today and how to speak to it, I thought about how to prioritise community voice. I strongly considered just reading the story of the Lorax, a story that resonates deeply with the challenges that we're facing and the decisions in front of you. For those who haven't had the privilege, the Lorax, by well-known philosopher Dr. Seuss, serves as a poignant cautionary tale, urging us to consider the consequences of our actions on the environment and society. It revolves around the onceler, an entrepreneur driven by ambition and profit, who ignores the warnings of the Lorax, a guardian of nature. The onceler prioritises short-term gains over the long-term health of the ecosystem. So it's rich with metaphors that extend beyond the children's story narrative. The onceler represents entities or individuals driven solely by profit without considering consequences of the actions on the environment and community. The Lorax represents citizen advocacy, a collective voice warning against the dangers of exploitation and destruction. The truffula trees are the natural resources. The barbaloots, the swami swans, and the humming fish are the ecosystems affected by human activity. Their displacement and suffering highlight the interconnectedness of all living beings in the ecosystem. And lastly, the Thneed factory. You'll have to read it if you haven't already read it already to know what I'm saying. The Thneed factory symbolises the negative impacts of industrialisation on the environment, such as pollution, habitat destruction. Beyond those high-level metaphors, there are some other points. The story emphasises the importance of respecting the knowledge and wisdom of Indigenous and local communities who have a deep understanding of their environment. It covers the impact on communities. So the onceler's actions not only harm the environment, but disrupts the lives and livelihoods of the creatures who depend on it. This can mirror real-world scenarios where environmental degradation often disproportionately affects marginalised communities who rely on natural resources for survival. It promotes the need for community engagement in decision-making. So the Lorax advocates for the involvement of affected community in decision-making processes concerning the environment. If we ignore the voices of the Lorax and the creatures, we see the onceler demonstrate the consequences of making those decisions without considering those needs and perspective of the community. So just like the Thneed factory brings the onceler short-term prosperity at the expense of long-term sustainability, so too could our decisions lead to irreversible consequences if driven solely by immediate gains. By promoting community engagement, which is what we're all about, and empowerment policy-making processes, we seek solutions that balance economic growth with environment protection and social justice, creating a more sustainable and resilient future. I believe this is quite in line with National's blue-green vision. Their vision is for a flourishing, sustainable, prosperous future with a goal to restore degraded environments, protect threatened species, support the rural communities, and celebrate the natural beauty of our country to build a greener, more prosperous and environmentally conscious New Zealand. We would argue that preventing more degradation is the most cost-efficient and timely way of achieving those goals. And those citizens that I spoke about from every walk of life and those 147 organisations I referred to, they're the communities that the Lorax instructs us to consult with to avoid that degradation. So in conclusion, the Lorax emphasises the importance of responsible stewardship, something us farmers understand really well, and listening to the concerns of all stakeholders, from businesses and investors through to environmental advocates and marginalised communities. By adopting a progressive mindset, we can find solutions that balance economic development with environmental conservation and social equity. I'm going to finish, possibly somewhat cheekily, by quoting ACT MP Simon Court, a self-identified radical environmentalist. Our rights go hand in hand with our responsibilities. Farmers, businesses and communities should lead conservation efforts in partnership with government. Business and communities are best placed to solve problems in partnership with government, not by heavy-handed counterproductive regulation, because community has skin in the game. Our children's futures are entwined, so let's do this well. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Georgina, and thank you very much for your submission. I know there are probably many Lorax fans or Dr. Seuss fans out there watching. We have questions, one first from Lan Farm.
Tēnā koe, thank you so much for your submission. It's really clear. I guess my question was, thank you for framing the extensive connection that Environment Hubs Aotearoa has to arguably some of our more active community members who are really involved in actual on-the-ground projects. And I just wondered about commentary from you specifically about how you feel those people would feel if they couldn't have a say on, significant projects that actually turn up in their backyard or in that patch where they've been, busying away, regenerating or restoring or whatever they're up to. Can you give us a feeling for that?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the question. So the nice thing about our environment hubs and community hubs is they bring people from all walks of life. So very apolitical and, rich and poor, and we have a real mix of people, students, young, old. And what we see is the value when they get involved in our programs of having a voice and being able to, find solutions. And I think especially in some of our areas where there has been either environmental degradation and, you see the benefit of doing something positive and actually engaging in programs, or where we've seen after the cyclones, and some of you come from those areas, those practical solutions really give people hope. So having that voice and being involved in finding those solutions is really important. And that's something that our hubs really try and encourage is getting that voice collectively from all of those different walks of life and give people hope and something to really focus on.
Thank you. And one final question from Rachel.
Thank you. Your list of community involvement things was a bit exhausting at the start, so thank you for all that you're doing. But secondly, when you're talking about community involvement in decision making, how do you think it could best work in any fast track regime?
Look, that's a good question. And for a start, just having some community involvement would be great. So bringing back the consultation we think is really important. And I think, as previous speakers have mentioned, we do understand that balance. Obviously, improving it is something that we acknowledge, but not cutting it out completely. We would probably see other ways of consultation that we would love to bring in, and using community hubs, for example. I've actually been able to talk to communities. Community hubs can actually bring some of those voices together in a way that actually helps councils and central government hear a message, but we can do the work consolidating that and supporting people to bring those submissions. So probably a little bit of the old of how we have consulted in the past, and maybe hopefully a little bit of the new where we can help support that process as well.
Thank you very much, Georgina. And just to second what Rachel said, thank you for the community work that you're doing. I know that's not necessarily the reason that you said that, but didn't go unnoticed.